In the meantime, the Federal Executive Council has given the green light to the 2024 appropriation bill, approving a 27.5 trillion naira for the fiscal year. This marks an increase from the initial 26.01 trillion naira considered by the Council. Minister of Budget and Economic Planning Abubakar Bagudu made the announcement to State House correspondents after the close of this week's Council meeting. The minister elaborated on the revised medium-term expenditure framework, which was earlier approved by the National Assembly, highlighting an exchange rate of 750 naira to a dollar and a crude oil benchmark of $77. He emphasized that these adjustments aim to enhance revenue generation. To discuss this, we're joined by Gbolahan Olujide, a development analyst. Good to see you again, sir. Thanks for giving us your time. What are the key areas or sectors within the 2022-24 external borrowing plan that President Tinubu aims to focus on with the secured loan, and how might this borrowing impact Nigeria's infrastructure development?
Well, infrastructure is actually one of the areas that was mentioned as a purpose for the loan. So you have infrastructure, you have healthcare, you have education, employment generation, and a few other things. So infrastructure is a key part of it. There is no doubt that if we indeed invest in infrastructure, it will yield positive results for the economy. So the issue is not what has been pronounced. The issue is the discipline to apply this money accordingly so that it can deliver on what it is meant to deliver on. That's really is the issue for me. The money will come. We know what has been listed, but are we going to have that commitment and discipline to deal accordingly? That is the real issue.
Okay, could you provide an analysis of the potential economic implications of the loans from both the World Bank and the African Development Bank, specifically examining how these funds might contribute to the country's infrastructure growth and overall economic progress?
Infrastructure. Let's take infrastructure, for example. A key infrastructure is power. So if part of this money is going to go into power, and maybe what that will translate to is that we will move away from our 3,000, 4,000 megawatts that is available when at our very best. I don't think we've ever crossed, done more than 4,000, 3,000 the average. Is it going to help us to get to 7,000 or 8,000 so that there is more power and small and medium scale businesses can rely on power from the grid, as opposed to having to burn diesel to generate power? That will translate to something in the economy. Will the infrastructure extend to rural roads so that we can connect centers of production of agricultural products to the market and ensure that we can reduce the 40%, 50% destruction of farm produce that we have been witnessing in this nation? It is no brainer. It will translate to something phenomenal for us on the economic side of things. Things like railway, which was also mentioned as part of the use, these infrastructure are critical to the economy. So if indeed the portion allocated to infrastructure is made to go into infrastructure, it will begin to help the economy to find its way out of the door. No doubt about that. If we invest in healthcare, we will say the same thing. A healthy nation is a nation that can produce. If the nation is not healthy, what are we expecting? So anybody now who has been to the healthcare center will tell you how the cost of drugs has gone up dramatically.
All right.
Some of these drugs.
Okay.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. I was going to say, yesterday we actually talked about the amount, that the slight increase
Felicity,
as announced by Abubakar Bagudu, the Minister for Budget. And what he said is there is an increase. The key factors, what I'm going to ask you is, what are the key factors that led to the significant increase from the initial 26.01 trillion naira to the approved 27.5 trillion naira in the 2024 appropriation bill, and what sectors or allocations within the budget saw notable adjustments to accommodate this increment?
I don't know how significant we can call it. Maybe about 1.5 trillion. It went from 26 point something to 27.5. The two main things that changed were, number one, we revised the assumption for exchange rate from 700 to 750. Then we moved the benchmark crude price from about 73 to about 77. Those were the two things that changed the numbers from 26 to 27.5. So it's not much of an analysis to write.
I mean, from the layman's perspective, you're looking at it from a financial analyst perspective. From a layman, any amount that is below, above million is huge. Anyways, that's on the side. Considering the implications of the increased budget size, could you provide an analysis of the potential economic impact, such as its effect on inflation, government debt, fiscal deficit, and overall economic growth trajectory, and how these might influence investment sentiment and market dynamics?
Yes.
Well, how did you get
me,
sir?
Government debt will... I heard you.
All right,
government debt will increase, and that means that the service cost will also go up. We are borrowing more. It means you have to be ready to service those loans. So definitely, government debt is increasing by virtue of the borrowing. So the real deal is, if we're going to have an economic impact by virtue of this borrowing, so that the benefit to the economy is much better than the cost we are paying on these funds, that is what will make it worth our while. And it is the reason why a disciplined and committed approach to implementation is required. If what this loan would deliver to the economy will be much more than the cost of the fund that we have borrowed, then it is a winner for us. It means that we have reaped the benefit of borrowing. But if we don't do that, then we might just be adding cost without the benefit.
In 30 seconds, have we had a situation where loans were used and you were impressed by how it was utilized?
The citizens have to get more involved. Budgets are public documents. If you want the budget for the past 5-6 years, they are there on the budget office of the Federation. So we need to get more involved, know what money has been voted where, and we can follow through the money and ask questions.
No, I'm actually asking you quickly, sorry to interject, Gbalaho. I was just asking you to make what does history tell us about these loans that we get to supplement our budget? Have you seen any instance where these loans were utilized to a point where you would say, okay, maybe some of it were used right?
Yes, of course. In certain instances, for example, all those railways that were constructed, there were loans from China. And eventually, of course, we saw the rail and people rode on them. So there were instances they were properly utilized. But it doesn't mean that we should assume that they will always be properly utilized. That's why we need to follow the money.
All right. Thank you very much, as always, for speaking with us.
Thanks for having me.